Hey everyone. Yeah, I don't have to work till about 4:30 in the afternoon, so I've got a little over 13 hours, still almost 13 and a half hours, or looking at the time here, 13 hours and 40 minutes before I have to work, and in a sense, 13 hours 25 minutes before I have to walk down to work and work, because my bike's not fixed yet for some odd reason. But anyway, with that said, I was thinking about doing this, kind of giving my thoughts on the whole situation with the Fantastic Four reboot, the movie, if you will. Hold on for a sec. Move some stuff. My dog's laying right down there. So, anyway, like I said, I thought I'd give my thoughts, my few cents on the whole Fantastic Four fiasco. Honestly, I think we can't really kid ourselves or anything on this. I think we all realized as fans and critics that even before the movie came out that it was going to be panned. We all pretty much knew that this movie was going to be just utterly destroyed by critics and fans, no matter how good you try to portray it, no matter how dark and serious you try to make it. I think we all pretty much knew that this movie was doomed to fail from the get-go. And it's not because of who they cast or anything, well, partially somewhat of that. But it's just the way things were done. I mean, yes, the casting at times was questionable, no doubt about it, but no offense to any of the actors and actresses in this film. I'm sure they did their best to use what they had, or use what they were given, to try to make this movie work. But I think they knew, if they followed the source material, if they studied the source material, I think they knew, as well as the director knew, especially with a lot of the new information that came out. And I think they all knew, from the cast, the director, the writer, everybody. I think they all knew that this was a movie that, no matter how good they tried to make it, was doomed from the get-go. I mean, literally doomed from the get-go. And you're probably asking, well, why is that? Why was it doomed from the get-go, Brian? And like I said, I think some of the blame has to go with the casting. And again, nothing against these actors or actresses. I'm sure they would have done a great job. And if they had given, I'm sure they would have done a better job, if not a tremendous job, if they were given better opportunities to work with the material that they were given. Basically, have an opportunity to really study, research, and get to know who the characters they were portraying in the movie are. So, or were, or whatever. So I don't really fault them. I think it's just, overall, when the director decided to cast certain individuals in certain roles, I'm sure his intentions were true, I'm sure his intentions were good, but you can't do that with a franchise like Fantastic Four. Despite how Fantastic Four is perceived now, you can't really do that with this kind of a franchise. Because you see, there are still loyal fans out there of Fantastic Four that expect to see the Fantastic Four as they know them. They expect to see the Fantastic Four the way they've read them in the comics, they've seen them on the television shows, and believe it or not, had seen them in the movies. So, to take that concept of the Fantastic Four and change it somewhat to something that may have taken place in the ultimate version of the Marvel Universe. To switch it up and go in that direction, okay, fine. That's alright, that's cool. That's alright if you want to do that. But again, to change the origins of how not only did they got the powers, but to change the backgrounds of the characters themselves. I mean, literally, you have Sue Storm as the adopted daughter of Johnny Storm's family. Now, I'm not against that, because believe it or not, where I work, there's a lot of families that come into my store, and you pretty much know that some of the kids they have are adopted. Heck, my brother-in-law's family, who's married to my oldest sister, his side of the family, his sister has adopted several children, some of different races, and they're treated just like family. My sister looks at them as her nephew, as her nephews and her nieces. So they're part of the family, no doubt about that. And again, I have nothing against them trying to bring that into the Fantastic Four universe to kind of switch things up, change things up. I have nothing against that, but I think honestly it's just the way it was perceived. Because, when fans were hoping for a Human Torch or Johnny Storm to be cast, they didn't think they were going to get, I can't think of his name right now, to play Johnny Storm. They didn't think they were going to get that. They thought they were going to get someone, no offense to the actor that played Johnny Storm in the movie. They thought they were going to get someone that was like a Chris Evans, maybe, or similar to Chris Evans when he was Johnny Storm. But they didn't get that. And again, I have nothing against, switching things up. And we've seen this a lot in superhero movies, in this superhero franchise, period. We've seen them switch up a lot of things. And we may or may not agree with it, but if they want to go in that direction, they do. They want to go in that direction and switch things up, cast-wise, character-wise, fine. I have nothing against it. But I think, in all honesty though, with all due respect to the actors and actress that did the damnedest with this script, did the damnedest with this movie to make it good, to make it relevant, I think, like I said earlier, I think they realized, along with the director, I think with the entire crew, that no matter how good they tried to make this movie, it was going to be doomed from the get-go. Because basically you're taking a concept like Fantastic Four and you're trying to make it dark and serious. And you can't do that with this kind of a franchise. You can't do that with this kind of a concept. I mean, when they did that Fantastic Four movie years ago, not the two I just showed you, but the one that came before them, they tried to make that one not just family friendly, but they tried to make that one humorous and funny. They even tried to put in humor and funny in both Fantastic Four movies here. Yeah, you had your dark elements as well, but you also had a good mixture, in my opinion, of dark and light. You didn't have total seriousness. You didn't have total grimness. You didn't have total tragedy in it. You had some light humor. You had some light humor. You had that humor in there that people expect sometimes out of a comic book movie, whether it's a comic book movie based on a very dark, serious franchise, like let's say Batman. You know, in all three of the Christopher Nolan films, like I said, in all three of the Christopher Nolan films, you know, they had humor in it. I mean, heck, even the third one, which was good, had humor in it as well, especially between Batman and Catwoman. You had that humor. You know, you had humor, and these were probably, people consider those to be probably the darkest DC has ever gotten in a while with any of their characters, and in this case, Batman, you know, they really got dark with him. But like I said, they did have that humor in there. I mean, the scene where, you know, Anne Hathaway's character of Selena Kyle as Catwoman mentioning how her mother told her never to get in strangers with cars, and you have Bruce Wayne, Batman, telling her this is not a car, you know, in a very humorous, sort of almost a jokingly humorous way. But it still had that dark tone to it as well. And that's why fans liked it, because it had that mixture. That yes, they knew it was going to be dark, they knew it was going to be gritty, they knew it was going to be serious, but they also knew they were going to have humor. They were going to have some funny moments. They were going to have some comedic moments at times. Very, very light, but still they knew it was going to be there. They didn't go all out and say, we're going to be dark and serious and... No. They did what they had to do to get people's attention. They did that with Batman Begins, they did that with The Dark Knight, and they did that with Dark Knight Returns. Or The Dark Knight Rises, I should say. Not Returns, but The Dark Knight Rises. You know, they did all that. And they succeeded. They succeeded. I mean, why do you think when this movie came out originally, I think, 2004, 2005? Trying to see here. Yeah, about 2005, I think. Why do you think this got popular enough to at least span one more sequel? Because it had that humor. It had that humor in there that people were expecting a movie like that. I mean, even the X-Men films, from the first one all the way to the recent Days of Future Past, including the Days of Future Past Rogue Cut, have humor. They have lightheartedness at times. Yeah, they're dark and gritty and serious, true. But they have that humor, that lightheartedness, and it's in everything that basically is a good package that people would like to open up and see and enjoy. That's why those movies have been big hits. Well, with the exception of The Last Stand, but still, even that was a huge hit. Despite how people panned it. And how people felt that it was basically unnecessary. The point is, I think one of the main reasons Fantastic Four, this reboot, was basically destroyed even before it came out. And why, in my opinion, I believe the actors and actresses, the film crew, the screenwriters, the script writer, the director, the producers, the reason, in my opinion, I believe they knew that despite how much effort they put into this, it was going to be a failure from the beginning. It's because they were trying to make it something that it wasn't. Even with Fox, as recent reports put it, even with Fox sticking their nose into the director's business and pushing him and making them do things and rushing things and doing this and doing that the last second and minute. Basically taking what potentially could have been a good film and breaking it and destroying it. You know, it's just, when you have a concept like Fantastic Four, it's not a concept you can take and make dark and serious. You can't do that. And like I said, everybody that worked on that movie, from the actors and actresses to all the way to the director and all that, they knew it was doomed because they knew this was not a Fantastic Four people wanted to see. And then, like I said, in addition, with Fox basically pushing the director to basically do things at the last minute, make some last minute changes, do this, do that, and stressing the hell out of him. Of course, the movie's not going to be well receptive, going to have a very well reception. At all. It's not going to have a good reception at all. No matter how good it does at the box office. I mean, its first weekend it becomes the #1 movie, and the second weekend goes straight to number 2 or 3, and it barely makes what the first 2 made. That's not a good sign. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. It seems that, again, what Fox is trying to do is they're trying to capitalize on the success of their X-Men movies, and you can't do that. Fantastic Four is not X-Men. And one, you can't try to make your own MCU universe, because no one's going to really accept a universe like this if you screw up a movie that you basically felt could be the potential to say, hey, we could cross these characters from this movie into the X-Men universe and the X-Men characters into the Fantastic Four universe. You can't do that. Basically, overall, the message I believe here is this. Fox, there are certain comic book movie adaptations and certain comic book movie franchises from Marvel and maybe some other publications that you could definitely do good things with. X-Men is one of them, depending on who you get behind the scenes as the director and the writer and all that. You could do some good things. But when it comes to things like Fantastic Four, properties like Fantastic Four, you cannot repeat the same success you had with X-Men. You cannot make them in the same kind of environment as X-Men. You cannot make them dark, gritty, and serious just because, let's say, you notice maybe DC's going to, maybe what? Because you're afraid Warner Brothers is going to get that rocket ship shoved up the butt and take off because of, Batman vs. Superman next year and, the DC cinematic universe? Is that why you're doing this? You can't do this just because you're afraid that's going to blow you guys out of the water. You think Marvel's afraid? No, they're not. That's why they do whatever that's why they do whatever they can to take to take the licenses they still have overall and try to make them true to the comic book counterparts. Why do you think Avengers did so well? Because it's who they are. Same with Age of Ultron. True, it wasn't as good. I will admit this. I will agree. It probably wasn't as good. I'll admit it probably wasn't as good as that one, but still, it was good enough that people saw almost another box office record. Saw another box office record because of it. Because the characters were true to themselves for a majority of it. They were I think Angry Joe put it best. They were the comic book selves. They weren't anything else. So you can't expect to make a comic book movie adaptation and not try to stay true to who the characters are. Why do you think the X-Men films do so well for you guys? Because Bryan Singer and whoever else does get behind it